Alright, I hope everybody's doing good. This is Tim from GI Joe Immortal, and today we're going to check out Zap, an original 1982 figure from the Real American Hero GI Joe. This is my first of many videos we're going to be doing reviewing some of these figures that I have in my collection, and this is one of my favorites. He is a version 1.5 with the swivel arm battle grip, they called it, which just meant that his arm could bend around at the bicep right here, and it helped him to hold their weapons a lot better. But he is a complete figure. Other than the stand, they did not come with the stands, but he did come with the green helmet and his bazooka, and luckily his bazooka is not broken. It does still have the sight on it, which is really hard to find one in that kind of condition. I did find this a couple of years ago, an unbroken one, and my original one broke a lot worse than that. I think the handle was broke off, and this one is in great shape. And as you can see, it has a lot of detail on it, a little bit of detail on it for a 1983 GI Joe toy. Doesn't really resemble the original World War II or Vietnam bazookas, but it's pretty fitting for a military toy at this time. We know what it is. It's a bazooka. Zap was his code name. Zap, I believe, was number 7 out of the line. I'm not real sure on that, but he was originally produced in 1982 as part of the original line. The first ones were straight arm. They didn't have a swivel, and so this is 1.5. I do not have the straight arm version, and I don't really care to get one. If I get I'll get one of each figure. If it's swivel or straight, it doesn't matter to me, because I'm not really going to display them a whole lot. I'm just going to keep them as best I can. And he's in pretty good shape. He's still pretty tight. Still has his original O-ring. As you can see, he's not scarred up and scraped up. He does have his pack with his little missiles, and you can see the detail on the pack there. And he was pretty nicely detailed. Does have his helmet. I'm going to remove his pack for right now. See if I can remove his helmet gently. As you can see, he's not the greatest looking guy. They did reuse this head like 3 or 4 times on a couple figures. I believe they changed their hair color on a couple of them. They also reused the arms, the chest, and the legs on a few of their figures, which I'm not going to go over today. But that is Zap right there. Now you can tell Zap is type 1.5 by the pockets in the front. Now if they were on the side, if they were back here, that means he would be a type 1 figure, and he would not have the swivel arm. You can see he's got these shoulder straps that go around, and they also meet in the back, and they're brown. They're nicely painted. He's not faded. He's really in great shape for a 1982 figure. He still has quite a bit of nice green on his pockets there. He has a green pack on his leg on the right side, and he also has another pocket on this side. I'm not sure what kind of pocket that is. That looks like just a regular pocket. It has 2 little ammo pouches up here. Now, he did come, his only accessories was the pack and the bazooka and the helmet. And the helmet had the 2 holes on the side, and you could put a visor on there like Zap had, or like some of the other figures had. I believe a couple figures had the glass, little plastic visors that went around them. Grand Slam, I believe, was one, And Flash, I think, had it later on. But as you can see, he still has great hair. There's no real scuffing or anything like that. He's still pretty tight. He could probably go a little bit tighter, but I'm not going to mess with him now. But that is Zap. And he was a heavy weapon specialist. He did show up in the comics and also in the cartoons a couple times. We're going to just allow me to look him up here real quick, and we'll find out where he was all. Well, he looked a lot. Oh, there he is, Zap, version 1. And here's his file card. And I'm just going to read it to you. He was a bazooka soldier, Zap, codename Zap. File name, Rafael J. Melendez. Then they had his serial number. His primary military specialty was an engineer. His secondary military specialty was an infantry artillery. His birthplace was New York City. His grade was E4. Zap is the team specialist in armor-piercing and anti-tank weapons, but also functions as a demolitions man. He specialized education, engineer school, ordnance school, advanced infantry training, qualified expert in M14, M16, M1911A1, M79 grenade launcher, M72 Law rocket, an XM71A tow missile, and XM47 Dragon missile. Zap is the fun-loving type. He's cool under fire. The stuff he works on could blow up at any time. So, that's his file card. Let's find out if he... Now, they say there was some variations on him. Zap was available either with thick thumbs or thin thumbs. Now, I don't have another one here to really demonstrate. They look pretty thick to me as far as figures go. I don't like to try to put his bazooka in his hand. It will go in his right hand, but I don't want to stress the thumbs any more than I have to. When he was released in '83, 2 major changes were made in his construction. The straight arms were replaced with arms that could swivel at the bicep, which is the battle grip I talked about. And the bulky waist piece was this thinner one it was changed to. I'll show you the difference on some of the other figures later on. But also the date stamp on the figure was changed from 1982 to 8283. While the changes are substantial enough for some to consider this the new version, is still technically just a variation. Because of this, we have chosen to list this figure as version 1.5 rather than version 2. Now this I'm getting right off of GoYoJo.com, and I would suggest if you ever need to look up your figures, that's a great place to go. Great site. It's called YoJo.com. But there are 3 versions of Zap's bazooka. The earliest bazooka had 2 handles, which I don't have. And this broke the thumbs off the straight arm figures. It was quickly replaced with the bazooka that had a single thin handle. This bazooka is the most common to find. And by the time Zap 1.5 release, the bazooka featured a single thick handle and was cast in a slightly warmer shade of green. The backpacks of Zap and Zap 1.5 feature different backpack pegs, which there's a thick version and then there's a thinner version. I'll show you the difference later on. I do have another one. I just don't have it here at the moment. Backpacks of straight arm figures will fit loosely in the backs of swivel arm figures. Lastly, there are 2 versions of Zap's file card. The file card with the Zap available from Hasbro Direct has a glossy red backing, while the file card that came with Zap did not. Zap's included with the Sears or JCPenney's exclusive gift packs also had the red backing. So there's a straight arm and a swivel arm, we know that, and there's 3 different bazookas. So I have, I believe, the thick handle, the 3rd version. So we'll take a look at that right now. The sight, this part of the sight was always broken off almost every one that I see. And a lot of Zap figures you see will not even have a bazooka. It was easily broken and a really tough piece to find. I lucked out when I found this one. And this is version 3, I imagine. And it could be number 2. I'm not sure. I'd have to see a thick handle one up close. But, well, there you have it. Now, he was featured in the Sunbow cartoons. Several of the various media G.I. Joe through the years, including the trading cards, the comic books, the cartoons, and the commercials. He was in the Marvel Comics, the Marvel Age, Order of Battle, the game cards, the action cards, the Impel cards, the TCG, the coloring book, puzzle, storybook, the Commodore 64, Battleground, and the commercial. Now, most of the 82 series figures and their swivel arm counterparts reused molds from each other, repainted slightly to make them seem more original. The head of Zap was reused for Grand Slam and Grunt, and an 83 Grand Slam version 2 and Tan Grunt. So Zap's arms were shared with Grunt, Hawk, Short Fuse, and Snake Eyes, and Stalker, and an 83 Tan Grunt version 2. So Zap's torso was shared with Short Fuse. Zap's waist piece was shared with 12 of the original 15 figures. Zap's legs were shared with Breaker, Clutch, Grunt, Hawk, Rock and Roll, Short Fuse, Stalker, and Steeler, and in 1983 Tan Grunt version 2 and in 84 Tan Clutch version 2. That's a lot. They reused a lot of parts. Imagine to save money, I'm sure. But note that the figure's head only turns left and right. Does not allow the head to look up and down, because the heads only turn left and right until the swivel ball head that was introduced in 85, which was series 4. So as you know, his head will turn left and right. But there you have it. That is Zap, and he's one of my originals and in great shape, and I just keep him in the plastic. He does not see much action anymore. But that's going to be all for now. I hope to see you again next time. This is Tim, and we'll see you again on GI Joe Immortal. Remember, Yo Joe!